Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are diving deep into, well, one of the most fascinating and frankly confusing subjects out there, precognition.
Yeah, perceiving the future, basically. The
Mm.
claimed ability to see or predict events before they actually happen.
Right. And this isn't just sci-fi stuff. It cuts right into big questions in science, psychology, even physics. It's been debated for, well, forever.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to kind of unpack all that. We've got a stack of sources, research papers, critiques, cultural histories, the whole deal.
And we're going to try and pull out the key ideas. What forms does it supposedly take? What's the evidence or lack thereof? What are the wilder theories behind it?
And why do these beliefs stick around? We're basically mapping out the territory.
Exactly. And just to be clear, like always, we're not taking sides on whether it's real. We're just exploring what the sources say about this really charged topic.
Okay, let's get into it. So precognition, it's not just one thing, is it? The sources suggest it's more like a category of experiences.
Yeah, more diverse than just like seeing the future in a crystal ball.
Definitely. The most common one people report is probably precognitive dreaming. Dreams that feel weirdly specific about something that then happens later.
Like dreaming about seeing a specific person you haven't seen in years and then bumping into them the next day.
Exactly that kind of thing. But the big challenge there is, well,
There's
memory's tricky, isn't it?
Totally. How do you prove it wasn't just a vivid dream you kind of retrofitted onto events later, or just plain coincidence?
That's the research nightmare, basically. But then it gets even stranger with something called presentiment.
Presentiment. Okay, what's that?
This isn't about seeing or dreaming. It's like a physical or emotional reaction before the thing happens.
Wait, like your body knows something's coming before you do?
Kind of, yeah. Some studies suggest people might show measurable physiological changes, heart rate, skin conductance, maybe brain activity.
Changes before the stimulus.
Seconds before they're shown, say, a randomly selected intense image versus a calm one, their body seems to anticipate the shock or the lack of it.
Whoa. Okay, if that holds up, that messes with everything we think about cause and effect. The effect happening before the cause.
It absolutely forces that question. Then you've got things like remote viewing.
Ah, right. That's trying to see a distant place or object without, actually being there or using senses, often in lab settings.
Exactly. Challenges our ideas of space and time. And then there's predictive anticipatory activity, or PAA.
PAA, that sounds closer to, like, really sharp intuition.
It might be. The idea is your brain subconsciously picks up on super subtle cues, things you don't consciously register, and prepares you for what's next. Maybe it feels like a sudden hunch or insight.
So is that just the brain being really good at pattern matching, or is it tapping into something else? That's the question, I guess.
That's the million-dollar question for researchers.
Mm-hmm.
And, culture plays a huge role in how we interpret all this.
Right. Like the ancient Greeks with their oracles that was seen as divine.
Whereas today, in many Western cultures, it's often dismissed as anecdote, right? Though other cultures might take dreams or omens much more seriously.
Okay, so that variety sets us up nicely for the next bit. The actual science, or the attempts at science, and why it's so incredibly controversial.
Yeah, this is where things get really heated. Skepticism is the default, and the methods are constantly under the microscope.
And you basically can't talk about modern research without mentioning Daryl Bem's 2011 paper.
Oh yeah, feeling the future. That paper landed like a bomb. Bem claimed he had experimental proof for, like, retroactive influence, basically future events influencing present cognition.
He ran these experiments, tweaking standard psychology tests slightly.
And the absolutely stunning part, he reported statistically significant results supporting precognition in 9 out of his 10 experiments.
9 out of 10?
Yeah.
Well, that's almost too good, right? In parapsychology, finding even small, consistent effects is rare.
Exactly. The reaction was instant skepticism. Critics jumped on it, saying those results were just abnormally high. People like Schmack raised red flags about questionable research practices.
Specifically, selection for significance.
Right. The worry is maybe you run, say, 20 slightly different tests, but only publish the 2 or 3 that happen to show a positive result by chance. It's sometimes called the file drawer effect.
Yeah, like you said with the lottery tickets earlier, only reporting the wins makes it look like you have a system, but you're ignoring all the losses stuffed in the drawer.
Precisely. And whether it was fair criticism or not, that cloud hung over Bem's study. It highlights the intense scrutiny.
And this isn't new, right? There was similar back and forth with the older Ganzfeld experiments.
Oh, absolutely. Charles Honerton started those in the 70s. The idea was to reduce sensory input, ping pong balls over the eyes, white noise.
To try and quiet the noise and let potential ESP signals come through?
That was the theory. And meta-analyses looking at lots of these studies together often did find a small effect, slightly better than chance.
But
But skeptics like Ray Hyman were quick to point out potential flaws. Maybe tiny sensory cues leaked through. Maybe the randomization wasn't perfect. Things that could explain the results without needing ESP.
so it's this constant tension. Small positive results versus the demand for absolutely bulletproof methods.
Always. And beyond flawed methods, skeptics offer other explanations, right?
Yeah, like simple coincidence. Or our own cognitive biases, the ways our brains take shortcuts.
Like confirmation bias. You have a vague feeling something bad will happen on a trip. If nothing happens, you forget the feeling. If your flight gets delayed.
You think, I knew it.
Well,
Even though you have vague bad feelings all the time that amount to nothing.
Exactly. Your brain finds the pattern it wants to see. So researchers really have to design experiments to try and rule that stuff out.
It's quite a broad field of inquiry, though, when you look at the sources. It's not just Behm and Gansfeld.
No, definitely not. They mentioned meta-analyses trying to sift through those Gansfeld results more rigorously.
And things like micro-PK studies, using random number generators.
Yeah, testing if the mind can subtly influence random physical systems.
Yeah.
Tiny, tiny effects, if any.
Plus the presentiment studies we talked about with the physiological measures.
Those are really intriguing because they offer potentially objective data.
And the remote viewing stuff, which has that whole history with government research, too.
Right, researchers like Puthoff and Targ. So yeah, it's a wider effort than many realize, even if it's controversial.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Because if we entertain the idea that maybe, just maybe, some of these small effects are real, what does that actually mean? This is where the theories get really wild, challenging, basic ideas about time and consciousness.
This is the really deep end of the pool, yeah, because it pushes back hard against a purely materialistic, clockwork view of the universe, and it leads straight into things like quantum physics.
Specifically retrocausality, the idea that the future could influence the past.
That's the mind-bending concept.
Yeah.
And physicist David Bohm's ideas come up a lot here. His theory of the implicate and explicate order.
Okay, break that down a bit. The explicate order is reality as we usually experience it.
Pretty much. It's the surface-level, distinct objects, events happening one after another, cause and effect in a straight line, like waves on the ocean surface.
And the implicate order.
That's the deep underlying reality, according to Bohm, like the vast ocean beneath the waves. Down there, everything is interconnected, folded into everything else. It's non-local. Time isn't linear in the same way.
So if consciousness somehow operates at that deeper implicate level,
then it wouldn't necessarily be bound by the linear time we see on the surface. That opens a theoretical door for future information to influence present cognition retrocausal effects.
wow. So precognition wouldn't be magic, but maybe a glimpse of this deeper interconnected reality.
That's one way to frame it theoretically, and parapsychology pushes this further, suggesting consciousness isn't just locked inside the brain, as mainstream neuroscience generally assumes.
They see it as more dynamic, non-local, able to interact beyond the physical body.
Something like that. And it's interesting how this resonates with some very old ideas, isn't it?
Yeah, you see echoes in Eastern philosophies, like the Hindu concept of Brahman, the universal consciousness.
Or the Buddhist idea of Dharmakaya, this sort of fundamental reality or truth body underlying everything. They both describe kind of interconnected, timeless ground of being.
It suggests our individual sense of self and time is just one layer of reality.
Which brings us back to the philosophical point people like Eleanor Sidgwick made ages ago. Maybe our everyday understanding of time is just too simple to account for these experiences. If precognition is happening, even rarely, it kind of forces a rethink of materialism.
Okay, so the day is messy, the theories are radical, but what about everyday life? Are there perceived practical uses for this stuff, whether you call it precognition or just intuition?
Well, the most obvious one is decision-making, right? Those gut feelings, hunches, sometimes they seem to guide us.
Yeah, that feeling of don't go down that street, or maybe I should call that person.
Exactly. And one practical tip from the sources is actually pretty simple. Keep a journal.
A journal to track.
To track those strong feelings or hunches. Write them down, note the date, and then later note what actually happened. Did the feeling pan out? Did it not?
Ah, so you can start to see if there are patterns. To sort of calibrate your own intuition, maybe?
Precisely. It makes the unconscious or maybe precognitive input a bit more visible. And this ties into personal growth too.
How so?
Practices like mindfulness or meditation,
Mm.
they're all about becoming more aware of your inner state, quieting the mental chatter.
So maybe that helps you notice these subtler signals,
Yeah.
whether they're just internal body cues or something.
That's the idea. By tuning into the present more deeply, you might get better at sensing those ripples from the future, perhaps, or just understanding your own intuitive processes better.
It makes sense historically, too. The Greeks didn't just have random prophecies. They had oracles, rituals, ways of trying to cultivate that connection.
And in ancient China, divination wasn't just fortune-telling. It was a serious practice involving interpreting signs, trying to align actions with the perceived flow of events.
It's really interesting how different cultures view this today, though. The sources pointed out that belief in these kinds of magical phenomena, including precognition, tends to be lower in Western European and English-speaking places.
Yeah, likely due to the stronger influence of scientific materialism, the emphasis on linear time, maybe a stricter mind-body separation in dominant Western thought.
There's even that link to cultural neuroscience, the idea that our cultural frameworks can actually shape how our brains process information, including how we perceive time or unusual experiences.
Culture literally shapes our reality filter, in a way.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, it's been quite a journey. We've looked at the different ways people seem to experience seeing the future, from dreams and body feelings.
To the really controversial lab studies like BEMS, and the long history of things like the Gansfeld experiments with all their methodological debates.
And then diving into these really profound theoretical ideas from quantum physics, suggesting time might not be the straight line we think it is.
Yeah, Bohm's implicate order, retrocausality. Ideas that sound like science fiction but come from serious physics, offering a potential framework.
We've seen the evidence is patchy, easily critiqued, yet the experiences persist. And these deep philosophical frameworks from both science and ancient wisdom seem to offer a potential home for them.
So the big takeaway, perhaps, is this question. What if our standard view of time, past, present, future, always moving forward, is just incomplete?
If both cutting-edge physics and deep cultural traditions hint at a more interconnected, nonlinear reality, what happens if we approach precognition differently?
Not necessarily as a superpower, but maybe as a natural, if subtle, human capacity operating within that deeper structure of reality. A function of consciousness that works outside our usual cause and effect rules.
If the future can subtly influence the present, what does that really mean for us? Does it change how we think about choice, about awareness, about preparing for what's next?
Maybe true preparation isn't just about planning for a linear future, but about attuning ourselves to that deeper, timeless interconnectedness.
A lot to think about there. Definitely a provocative thought to end on.